So this next song speaks a little bit about my cultural upbringing from my Brazilian side. So my mother is from a city called Recife in a state called Pernambuco, which is a country called Brazil. And it's, to give you an idea of where it is, if you look at South America, the most eastern pointing little point, the front of that South American continent, just south of that, that's where Recife is. Recife means reef. So it's a town built on this huge bay reef. It has bridges and canals. It's a bit of a Venice type of city. It's a beautiful city. And so many uniquely Brazilian cultural musics and foods and icons and historical events happen in this city of Recife. And my mother's a very proud Brazilian woman, and she's a staunch musician and storyteller and political activist and all those things. So we frequented Brazil quite a bit, and I started to learn a lot about the music and the rhythms from this specific region. And part of my acculturation to my motherland was the art form of capoeira. I don't know if some of you guys are familiar with capoeira, but capoeira, this space actually brings about the capoeira spirit to me, because capoeira is an Afro-Brazilian art form that was developed by escaped African slaves from the Portuguese colonies. So these Africans escaped into the bush, intermingled with the indigenous peoples, created their own maroon colonies. And they were maroon colonies that existed for centuries, by the way, during the Portuguese occupation, that resisted constant invasion and threat of recapture from the Portuguese for many centuries. And during this time, they kind of created a cultural renaissance amongst all of the different cultures and the peoples that were part of these marooned communities. And capoeira is one of these things. It combines a lot of different ritualistic dance art forms, oral tradition, song, instrumentation, a lot of ritual, spiritual practices were all amalgamated into this type of war dance, as I would like to describe it, because it's combative, but it's also inclusive to everybody in the community. It has destructive capabilities, but it's not used to destroy one another. It's used to strengthen one another. So it was an art form that was created to invigorate and strengthen and build up the self-esteem and the abilities of these escaped marooned peoples, for them to then have the actual bravery and strength and inner belief in themselves to go to battle and to fight for their freedom on a constant basis. So I began my journey in the capoeira art form in 2001, and by capoeira master, because there are masters and there's a whole hierarchy of where you learn in schools and philosophies that have now grown out of this whole capoeira thing. Capoeira was actually illegal to practice in Brazil up until the 1960s, because it was that emboldening to a lot of the distressed and poor peoples. They had to practice it in secret. And indeed, the word capoeira actually means tall grass, because it was done behind the tall grass and practiced behind the tall grass where it couldn't be seen. So there's all this mystique and mystery behind capoeira, but now capoeira has reached the world stage. You can find it in every single country in the world. Indeed, I found it while I was living in the United States. So it was a chance for me to reconnect with my Brazilian roots while also living in the United States, learning a lot of the history, learning the language, of course, and learning the songs of my capoeira mestre, because my capoeira mestre is a very prolific singer and songwriter in the capoeira ethos. His name is Mestre Barrão. And anybody who practices capoeira would know this name. This man is very well known for his incredible loud voice and his projections and his songwriting abilities. So learning his songs was also another bridge in me helping to develop my own style of songwriting and singing. And so I've adapted one of his capoeira songs to play on this string instrument here, which I previously used to play with the full entire band and the guitar and all those things. So I'm going to minimize this song and bring it to these two instruments, and hopefully you'll still be able to connect with the message behind it. It's called Mundo Enganado, which means unforgiving world. vivemos aqui nessa terra, lutando pra sobreviver. Um lugar onde poucos têm muito e muitos sem ter o que comer. Olhando isso eu fico triste, me pergunto qual era a solução. Tô feliz por ter a capoeira como forma de expressão. Capoeira é uma arte, e a arte é obra de Deus. Nessa terra eu não tenho muito, e muito que eu tenho foi Deus que me deu. Eu tenho um canário, um cantador, berimbau afinado e um cavalo chotão. E o carinho de uma morena faceira que me deu seu amor e um menino chorão. Ai meu Deus, quando eu parti desse mundo enganador, pra meu filho deixarei uma coisa de valor. Não é dinheiro, não é ouro, nem é prata, é um birimbau maneiro que eu ganhei do meu avô. Não é dinheiro, não é ouro, nem é prata, é um birimbau maneiro que eu ganhei do meu avô. Não é dinheiro, não é ouro, nem é prata, é um birimbau maneiro que eu ganhei do meu avô. Não é dinheiro, não é ouro, nem é prata, é um birimbau maneiro que eu ganhei do meu avô. Oi, lelê, oh, lá, lá. Oh, lelê, oi, lelê, 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 lá, ya. Oh, lelê, oh, lá, lá. Oh, lelê, oi, lelê, 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 lá, ya. Ai, meu Deus, quando eu parti desse mundo enganador, pra meu filho eu deixarei uma coisa de valor. Não é dinheiro, não é ouro, nem é prata, é um birimbau maneiro que eu ganhei do meu avô. Não é dinheiro, não é ouro, nem é prata, é um birimbau maneiro que eu ganhei do meu avô. Meu birimbau que toca ina e benguela, toca paz, toca guerra, coisa desnudada de amor. Não é dinheiro, não é ouro, nem é prata, é um birimbau maneiro que eu ganhei do meu avô. Oh, lelê, oh, lá, lá. Oh, lelê, oi, lelê, 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 lá, ya. Oh, lelê, oh, lá, lá. Oh, lelê, oi, lelê, 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 lá, ya. Oh, lelê, oh, lá, lá. Oh, lelê, oi, lelê, 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 lá, ya. Oh, lelê, oh, lá, lá. Oh, lelê, oi, lelê, 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 lá, ya.